Hi guys, this is Tablet-News.com and I'm here with the Huawei MatePad Pro for a full review. So I've already unboxed this device, used it for a few weeks, and now I'm back with the final impressions. It was actually unveiled in December 2019 and it took its time to reach some parts of the world. It's a 10.8-inch slate with a price that should be around $550. We also have accessories for it, but I'm going to show you those towards the end of the review. Okay, so first things first, the device comes in this beautiful blue color, but it also has some vegan leather options that come in green or orange. What you see here is supposed to be fiberglass, and it actually feels a bit like plastic and metal. It's not, it's actually glass in a pretty interesting fashion. We also have an aluminum frame, which is 7.2 millimeters in thickness, and this product here weighs 460 grams, which means it's a bit on the light side, considering that the screen is a 10.8-incher. It's definitely well built, it's quite grippy, so grip will never be a problem. I would say the bezels are skinny, so you may touch it accidentally, but luckily the anti-accidental touch mechanism is strong. So design-wise, it checks out, it's pretty slim, comfy and skinny. And now let's talk about the display. So unlike Samsung, Huawei is using here IPS LCD. We're dealing here with an IPS LCD which has a resolution of 2560 over 1600 pixels, a resolution that's been trendy a couple of years ago, and it's even trendy now on tablets because it's rather generous. So IPS LCD 10.8-inch 2560 over 1600 pixels. Pretty narrow bezels, but I'm not a big fan of this cutout here for the selfie camera, and I'm also going to show you a video which shows you what's happening with that cutout. Okay, so we're playing a test video on the screen. I know the colors look pretty spectacular, and we also have some pretty wide view angles, and the contrast wasn't half bad in the sun of July, but you can see we have two black bands here. There's a black band at the bottom and a black band at the top, which is meant to hide the punch hole for the selfie camera here. Anyways, I'm happy with the color calibration, I'm happy with the brightness, I'm happy with the wide view angles, and that's about it. Now we also did some measurements, and here we have the brightness level of the slate, which is 443 lux units. I mean, it's a pretty solid result, but it's not the record holder. The record holder is the Nexus 7 from 2013 with 508 lux. Still, in my book, anything above 400 lux checks out. And as you can see, it beats the iPad 9.7 from 2018, Galaxy Tab S 8.4, and let's see how it does compared to the Galaxy Tab S6. So it beats the Galaxy Tab S6 and S4 and Tab S5e, so against the Samsung devices, this is basically a win. Okay, we're done with the screen. Once again, I'm happy with it, even though it's not an OLED. Now I'm going to talk about other features, like for example the CPU. So what we've got here, it's a familiar CPU, it's the Kirin 990. You've seen it on the Mate 30 Pro, and you've also seen it in some version on the Huawei P40 Pro. It's a powerful CPU, even though in some benchmarks it doesn't exactly beat the Snapdragon 855, which we saw on the Galaxy Tab S6 last year. Now, this Kirin 990 octa-core 7nm plus chip is accompanied by 6 or 8 gigs of RAM, and from 128 going all the way up to 512 gigabytes of storage of the UFS 3.0 variety, and you also get a nano memory card slot which is proprietary for Huawei. The good news is that we didn't experience any trace of lag here, so there's that. I ran quite a few apps and even some games, and I actually ran into zero problems, so there will be no problems with that. There were some problems when installing applications. So for example, we only have a few benchmarks here. Antutu wouldn't run, but we did install 3D Mark Slingshot and we got beaten by Galaxy Tab S6. So basically we beat all the other tablets except for the Galaxy Tab S6. So the performance is pretty close, but apparently that Snapdragon CPU is still kicking strong. Another interesting piece of news is that there's zero problems here with the temperature. So we achieved a temperature of 32.32 32.2 degrees Celsius in games, which means we definitely don't have any overheating. And I actually watched some other reviews. I've seen people achieving 443,000 points in Antutu, which is a pretty impressive result if you're keeping score. Now, this tablet is quite big screen-wise, and you'd expect a big battery, which is actually what you get. So 7,250 mAh, that's what you get, and you also get some interesting things here. First of all, we have 40 watt wired charging, we have 15 watt wireless charging, and there's also a reverse charge. So if you put your watch here, your Huawei Watch GT, your free buds from Huawei or even other brands, they will be juiced up. Even your iPhone, you put your iPhone here, it gets charged at 9 watts. Okay, enough with the talk. Let's go to the results. So, battery test. First of all, video playback. 10 hours and 45 minutes. It looks quite good. It's no record breaker, but it's definitely pretty solid. So, it's above the Lenovo Yoga Book and the iPad from 2018, the basic one. It's below the Galaxy Tab S6 and iPad Air 2 by a few hours or a few dozens of minutes. The Galaxy Tab S6 achieves 14 hours and 22 minutes. We don't have PC Mark here, but we have common sense, and you should basically be able to achieve your 8 hours of work time with ease and be left with some juice for some Netflix and gaming during the night time. So that's about it. 1 day of power using seems likely. Okay, so charging is pretty solid for a tablet, 1 hour and 50 minutes. Usually those big power tablets get 3 hours, so we're actually doing excellent here, in excellent fashion. After 1 hour, you're at 63%, and if you have a fast charger lying around, you may wake up with even faster charging times. Okay, so we're done with the battery. Keep this in mind, a power user can easily get a day out of this slate. Now, on the acoustic front, you can see that we got here a pair of speakers, 2 of them, stereo variety, and another pair here. In total, there are quad speakers here, so 4 of them, and they're actually tuned by quite a big name, which is Harman Kardon. Now, in order to actually get the best out of the experience, I'm going to have to look up the music app. Here we go. Which, by the way, has some pretty nifty options for sound customizations and EQ. We got Hi-Stan, we got Kirin, 3D Surround, Choral, Hi-Fi, Mega Bass, Melodious, and much more. I'm actually pretty impressed by all of those features. Okay, now let's see some of the tunes that we actually have laying around on the device. By the way, this is integrated with the store, the music store, which Huawei has to offer you, and frankly speaking, you're going to have to look for your own music in order not to break any sort of copyright. Okay, library, nope, and here we go. Okay, so as I said before, you can also purchase music from here, and this is what the sound is like. Okay, so a fantastically deep bass. I was very happy with the treble, one of the highest volumes around, and it's a very punchy sound, which also handles the music and the dialogues in the movies in excellent fashion. So sound-wise, this is probably the best tablet I've played with in a while. Quad speakers, all of them tuned to perfection, and extra equalizer options. Okay, so we're done with the speakers, and I'm pretty happy with what they can achieve. Oh, it's time for the camera, and I don't want to be that douchebag who uses a big tablet during a wedding, funeral, or other occasions, but some people will actually prefer to use this. Front 8 megapixel camera here in a punch hole, a premiere for tablets, and if you go to the back side, you should notice that we have a camera with LED flash, not something you see on tablets every day. It's a singular 13 megapixel camera with LED flash, and also it takes 4K video at 30 frames per second. And there are also some other options, including your flavor of bokeh, AI, beauty, and so forth. I must admit I haven't left the balcony to take these photos, so I think they should be enough and pretty clear on what the tablet has to offer. So if you're planning on taking close-up shots of flowers, this is what you'll be able to achieve with the camera on the device. This 13 megapixel shooter seems to behave like the one of a good high mid-range phone. It actually reminds me of the quality of the Huawei Nova 5T or the Huawei P40 Lite, with maybe improved lighting. Pretty nice texture, so if you're gunning for close-ups, things should be fine. There's no ultra wide here, there's just your regular 13 megapixel camera. I also tried out the selfies and I would say they're okay. Not the best in the world, I mean, for a tablet they're quite okay. Be careful with the bokeh, they may end up cutting part of your face, like it happened here, weirdly enough. But in some other instances the bokeh was quite okay. So the operational word here is okay, and have to say that the color calibration is actually pretty satisfying, bright and vivid. I would say on par with the iPad Pro, maybe the one from 2 years ago. So that's about it. We also have a 4K video, but it's nothing to write home about. It's here and this is it, hopefully without a huge sound. I noticed some refocusing here and there and also pretty powerful exposure. Once again, shot in the balcony, trying to stay safe. But pretty good amount of details. That's one of the things I noticed as well. Okay, so we're done with the camera, not one of the focal points of the device for sure. And on the connectivity front, you should be able to get this device available in Wi-Fi versions and 4G versions. So it has 4G LTE, there's also a 5G version out there. We got your Wi-Fi dual band, we got your Bluetooth 5.1, we got your USB-C port here, and there is no audio jack in case you're wondering. It's actually USB-C 3.1. GPS and GLONASS, Galileo, BDS and QZSS, and we also did a bunch of tests. Let's see how those panned out. We used speed test and the results went in and they're looking like this. So we achieved a top level of 278 megapixels in download and 23 megapixels in upload, and that's on Wi-Fi, and it's not half bad. Okay, so we're done with the connectivity, time to talk about the software. Actually, there's not much to say here. We're dealing with good old Android 10 with EMUI 10.1 on top, without Google services, without a Play Store, but we do have alternatives. As you can see, I'm playing with APK Pure, and there's something called Petal Search. This Petal Search doubles up as your search engine, as your way of getting apps, and so much more. For example, this is where I found my Netflix app. Okay, and it's here, you can download it and see other alternatives. Of course, none of them are secure, so you may be up for a risk if you're doing that, but APK Pure and several other names are definitely sure sources. Amazon App Store is a sure source. Of course, there is the Huawei App Gallery, which is pretty filled with tens of thousands of apps, including, here we go, the formerly known as Nokia Maps, which is used for mapping. Now, the experience itself is pretty straightforward. This is the multitasking. Split screen is also available, and here you can see the drop down section with the notifications and the quick settings. Okay, the settings themselves don't have anything out of the ordinary. Some tweaks for the display, sound and vibration, biometrics, which by the way only use face recognition via the camera, not the most secure. Too bad that we don't also have a fingerprint scanner. This is the Huawei Assistant, which is the first time I've seen on a device, and that's about it. The very useful optimizer, which has cleanup, virus scan, permission manager, and more. Of course, once again, the app gallery. And by the way, both the music and video app allow you to purchase movies and music respectively. Okay, the moment you've all been waiting for is here. Time to mess around with accessories. First of all, this is the Stylus. It's a special flavor of M Pencil for the Huawei MatePad Pro. It's able to attach to the top side of the device via magnets, or at least here we go. You can see here the level of battery charge, and that's how it's attached and carried around. And I would have to say it's pretty close to the Samsung S Pen experience, even though it's a bit more angular, and which increases the grip. So you can go to your notepad and do several things with it. As you can see, I've already scribbled stuff, I've drawn, I've written. So this is how you open a new note. This is how you start to draw various critters or whatever your imagination fancies. These are the pens and tips you will be using, and when all is said and done, you can also go ahead and simply write something like, of course not with this tip, perhaps with another one, something like hello world. and it should be interpreted automatically as text. It's written hello Hertz here because of my horrible handwriting. Anyway, you get the idea. That's one of the accessories. The price should be around $70 or so. And then we have the other one. Let's check it out. Okay, so you probably also saw a phone there, a small spoiler. Okay, so this is the special Huawei MatePad Pro case, the Huawei Smart Keyboard with a QWERTY setup, the numeric row. There's no touchpad, which may be a drawback for some people, and you're going to put the device like this. There are magnets at play here, and aside from being a case that protects the device, it's also a keyboard. And it lets you prop up the device at 2 or 3 angles. So this is one of them, and you're going to be writing like this. You just press here and start typing away, and you can also store the pen here in the meantime. So if I want to write something like, hello guys, we're very pleased to have you. Oh, missed one. How proficient am I? I actually counted it out. I set on a chronometer and saw that I wrote 54 words in 60 seconds. That's pretty proficient, I would say. The keys are rather soft. They don't have much travel, but I actually enjoy them for writing. And I also prefer softer keys on my laptop. It's pretty cramped at first, especially if you're a bigger person, but I got used to them pretty fast. Pretty solid if you're writing articles and you're a tech journalist, so that's about it. Comfy keyboard, good protection. People may have wished more angles for the keyboard, not just these two, which are actually pretty close together. So that's probably one of the only drawbacks. Now let me show you an interesting feature. I have here the Huawei P40 Pro, okay? And if I touch it, let's see if the NFC is on. Yep. If I touch it on the shift key of the keyboard, guess what happens? Okie dokie, connect, and multi-screen collaboration happens. I'm agreeing. Okay, allow. And everything you're going to see on the screen of the phone should translate to the screen of the tablet, which is basically now a smaller laptop. So everything happens in real time there. So even if I'm playing a game, I'm testing an app, I'm a developer, and things like that, we should be able to mirror everything. That's it. In a nutshell, mirroring from the phone to the tablet. And now you have the whole ecosystem ready. Okay, so that's about it. Review-wise, you get the gist of it. You saw the core features, and now it's up to you if you want this device or the iPad Pro, which is more expensive, or the Galaxy Tab S6, which should be about the same price range. Now let's show you the verdict. Okay, so verdict. And when that happens, I'm also going to show you our website so you know what we're dealing with here. Okay, so Tablet-News.com, here we go, for some reason written in all caps. Okay, so on the Pro side, the accessories are definitely a plus for this device, including the stylus and the keyboard. It has a pretty excellent battery, I would say, when it comes to its functioning time, fast charging, wireless charging, the best speakers I've ever heard on a tablet. Also, premium design for sure. I'm talking about the materials, the grip, the colors, what have you. And aside from that, we also have a solid display, even though we're only working with a IPS LCD and not a Super AMOLED. At the same time, I would say that the camera is pretty solid for a tablet by itself. So there's that, and also pretty impressive processing power, even though we don't have too many terms of comparison. Those are the pros. So battery, speakers, charge, wireless thing, screen, and all that. On the con side, I actually hate the placement of the power button. I kept pressing the volume buttons here because that's the logical way of placing the power button here. It should be here, not here, unless you're planning on using the tablet in portrait mode, which actually I have done 0 times, come on, throughout this review, and it actually feels weird if you ask me. Okay, so the placement of that button, the fact that the punch hole may bother some people with its design, and also the fact that there are black bars when playing video, not huge, but they're there. There are some problems with some apps. Of course, there's the lack of the Google Suite, and I had problems with Antutu when I try to install it, and several other applications. There is no audio jack if you're really picky about that, and we may require more variety for the angles used to prop up the tablet here. That's one of the other things. And all in all, when you're buying the whole package, things may feel pricey. So $550 for the tablet, $70 for the stylus, and about, let's say, $100 for the keyboard takes you to $720 for this toy. Still cheaper than the iPad Pro from 2 years ago with accessories, and for an Android device it would be great if it had the Google Apps. Now, if you can work away around the store like APK Pure, there's no problem. And for productivity, it's actually a great laptop replacement. But only, once again, if you can get your proper apps. That's about it from Tablet-News.com. Hope you enjoyed this more intricate review with many accessories, phones, and gimmicks on the table. Bye bye.